Welcome to the Daily Illini Sports Podcast. Illinois wins 77-69 or 78-69. 78-69 over the Golden Gophers. Not the prettiest win, not against the greatest team, but a win's a win.
Win's a win, and it really wasn't as close as the final score indicated. Minnesota made a couple baskets at the end that didn't really matter. I mean, the game was over, pretty early in the second half.
Yeah, it seemed like Minnesota made a run at the end of the first half, but Illinois' physicality was too much. When they needed to give to Dane Danger, he did it. When J&F's had to make a three-point shot, they did it. Just Minnesota didn't have enough, soldiers today.
Right, they're a little small. They're not quite as athletic as the Illini, and so when they got it down low to Dane Danger, what they were trying to do all night, get him on the block, and he'd do that little spin, and there was just sort of no one who could match up with his pure size and strength.
Yeah, and he was getting fouled a lot, but it seemed like the story of the day, everybody in the press conference kept talking to RJ Melendez. I mean, this felt like a wake-up game. People were nervous after Indiana. He missed a lot of layups, missed the game-winning three, but he bounced back big today. 10 points, 11 rebounds. What did you guys think of RJ's performance?
I mean, we see someone who's struggling that bad, and it's very human. It's like a storybook sort of moment. He hits that three, and everyone is so excited. And it's just like it means so much, and also the dunk and everything. And he didn't play some superstar level game, but just seeing a guy go out there and have a good game after he's struggled so much. Really nice.
I agree with the good game. Nice rebounds, 10 points overall is good. But everybody was kind of thinking, wow, his jump shot's back. He made that one shot that means so much. He's made 3-pointers before. Does 1 of 4 from the 3-point line really vindicate his style of play?
I don't know if it fully, puts to rest the case that he's not shooting well, because you're right, he's only shot 1 for 4 from 3.
He still played well, though.
He played well. Yeah. No, he played well overall. He played a good game on defense, great job on the boards, rebounding, and even though he only made the 1-3, he still scored 10 points. So he picked up the slack, in the paint and around the hoop. But you're right. I mean, that 3 looked good and it felt good. I mean, the whole place erupted when he hit that shot. But hopefully he can just use this game as a stepping stone to keep building up his confidence.
Overall, RJ scored 10 points and 11 rebounds, but the main scorer lately has been Matthew Meyer. He's been extremely versatile, and it seems like he's kind of stepped it up since Terrence Shannon's been gone.
Right, well, there's sort of a hole where that scoring should be. I mean, Terrence Shannon is scoring at, 17 points a game, which is elite in college. And, he's another big wing. They've sort of got similar body types. And he has a sort of different game, which is that he's more of he can't go downhill quite as much as Terrence Shannon can. Shannon's a little faster, a little stronger, but he has that step back shot. He has that step back shot and that three ball, which he shoots at 5% better than Shannon. And so that sort of just makes him more effective as a volume scorer right now.
So who would you take if you had to pick Matthew Meyer or Terrence Shannon? Who do you trust more in March?
In March, I think Meyer can have a bigger impact because of his three-point shooting. And I mean, if he gets hot, he's
he's unconscious.
He can hit step back fadeaways over a guy or two. Yeah. That's having that shooting ability can take over a game in March. I think Shannon obviously can get to the hoop better, and we'll get his every game. It's just a matter of if Meyer can also consistently hit 4 threes a game and kind of spread that defense apart in March.
I feel like Shannon better deep threat. Shannon better inside, Matthew Meyer the better deep threat. But it seems like Matthew Meyer can replicate action down low. He can get to the free throw line. He was pretty efficient from the inside. I don't know. It seems like I might take the 6'9" Matt Meyer over the Terrence Shannon.
Right, but Shannon he's the star. He's sort of like
he should be. Yeah.
He's the star. He's been the star. He had that game against Texas. He had all those shots sort of early in the year. I don't know. Matthew Meyer has sort of always been, in my recollection, when I watched him as Baylor, he was always sort of the sixth man, all of sort of this volume scorer who did all this work but quietly.
Yeah.
So it's sort of hard to tell. I would take Terrence Shannon because he is the guy.
Terrence Shannon the first month looked like an NBA lottery pick. The way that he performed against UCLA, the way he performed in overtime against Texas. But he hasn't always exactly stuck the landing. I mean, there was games against Penn State, 4 points and 7 shot attempts. There's been games where he's just disappeared offensively at times. Granted, I think that's happened with both Matt and, Terrence, because they were role players at Texas Tech and Baylor, respectively. That's why it's going to be important for guys like Coleman to step up, guys like Jaden Epps to step up. But it does seem like Matthew Meyer, the ability to knock that three-point shot and using that size down low, he might have a higher ceiling than Terrence.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm an NBA team, I'm thinking about probably taking Meyer over Shannon, just because Meyer gives you the elite length. He's a good defender. He has that shooting stroke that, we've seen from Shannon. Like in the UCLA game, he went unconscious.
8 of 9,
Meyer's way more consistent, it seems like, from the three-point line. And, he still has an inside game, whereas Shannon's is probably better. Meyer can still get downhill and attack the basket.
Both great players, but overall, does this kind of win spark an Illinois victory? I know Iowa, that was a loss. Indiana, that was a tough game, but you could come away with a moral victory. They beat Minnesota. Can this Illinois team get on a hot streak? Can they beat Northwestern, Ohio State, and Michigan and get out of that 8-9 seed range?
I mean, that's really what's important, because when you watch March Madness and you watch these tournaments, it's always about the team that is hot at the right time. It's almost never the team that wins a national championship that has the most talented players or sort of is the best team in the country. It's always who can get hot and who can win 6 games in a row, and they can. They certainly can. I mean, they've proved that they can win this game. They can prove that they can match up against Indiana, a really good basketball team, without arguably their best player. So does this spark a run? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I don't mean to be to oscillate, but it's sort of hard to tell because Minnesota just isn't very good.
Yeah.
And I think their game this Thursday against Northwestern will be,
it's gonna be big.
A really big test because Illinois objectively is more talented than Northwestern, but Northwestern is an elite team playing as a team. Like, everyone knows their roles. They don't have one guy that averages 30 a game and carries them. So I want to see how Illinois performs against a disciplined Northwestern. Doesn't turn the ball over very much, and that's kind of what Illinois is trying to force on defense. They're trying to force those turnovers to get going in transition. If they can beat Northwestern, then I could see them potentially winning out up until that Purdue game, where that's if they can shut down Edey, then they have a shot too.
And that's one of the final points. One thing that Brad Underwood talked in the press conference, he wants Jaden Epps to shoot the ball. Maybe it's not Jaden Epps' role to be a facilitator. Maybe it is his job to go 100% to the basket, to shoot that three-point shot, because they need scoring. I mean, realistically, I'm not going to count on Matthew Meyer to make 50% of his threes. I'm not going to count on Coleman Hawkins to make most of the three-point shots. It seems like Jaden Epps, as a freshman, has a big responsibility to score a lot for this Illini team.
Well, if there's one way I would describe Jaden Epps, it's using the word bounce, because it seems like whenever he bounces the ball, he is bouncing. The way he drives and he moves, he's so fast and quick and explosive, and he's like a pure scoring guard, and it's amazing, and that's really what you need in March is you need someone who can just go downhill and get you tough buckets, sort of open things up for everyone else, like Brad was talking about, coming off ball screens. And even though he isn't the best playmaker, like you were saying, he's growing into the role. There are other players around him, like Matthew Meyer and Terrence Shannon, whenever he returns, and
Coleman
and Coleman Hawkins, exactly, who can who can sort of take up that load for him and make it sort of a team thing instead of an individual one.
Well, overall, Illinois played good enough against Minnesota. They are now 18-9 on the year. Win a couple more games, and then you don't have to play Kansas in the round of 32. I mean, that's pretty much the moral of the story.
Yeah, try to avoid that 8-9 seed line. I mean, that is not the recipe to making a Sweet 16. Really, anything other than that.
Be a dangerous 11 for all I care.
Yeah,
better than an 8 or 9.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would take any seed line over an 8 or 9, because you're going to end up playing a team like Kansas or Houston or even in Alabama. Those teams are
Illinois, but better.
I think. Yeah.
Houston and Kansas try to do what we do, but they do it better.
They're more talented, and they match up better than they match up against us better than we match up against them.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the Daily Illini Podcast. Logan Andersen, Theo Gary, and Carson Gourdie. Thanks for watching, and Illinois is taking on Northwestern this Thursday.